Angie Thomas, how are you today? Otherwise known as the Pelicans Drake. Got to introduce you like that, right? How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we've been really excited to get this going. Angie, when I first messaged her, we've been interacting a little bit here and there, but when I first messaged her, she said, yeah, how about in the next 2 weeks? So she's been a busy lady. But she just released her new book, Concrete Rose, which we'll talk about a little bit at the end. But your life has clearly been a little hectic lately. When I first asked, like I said, it took a little bit, totally understand. You got a shout out from the first lady, which is pretty cool. Saw that on your Twitter. Um, I mean, you've been on some super high profile networks. If you could wrap it all up, what has your life been like since Concrete Rose released?
Overwhelming. But it's also weird because like I'm here at home. So it's not, it's like being at home and getting all of this news and doing all of these things, but still sitting here in my pajamas or something. And so it kind of makes it a little more real. Like it's not glamorous at all.
Right.
Like I'm in my office like right now, and what beyond what you can see is a total mess. So it keeps me very grounded, keeps me very humble. You can't get a big head when you see what I see in this office right now. So yeah, but it's been, the reactions to the book have been great. It's always wonderful when readers love something that you put months and months of work into, and they enjoy it. So that's been great to hear. But yeah, it's been a weird experience doing all of this from home.
I believe it. I'm sure when The Hate You Give really started to get traction, you were on a ton of stuff. So doing this from home, I'm sure, is completely different.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
I was on tour. I was traveling around the States. I went overseas and stuff. And this time it's like I'm doing interviews in Australia and at night and interviews in the UK in the morning. So, I mean, I don't miss the jet lag, but it
Right.
is different.
Do you plan on doing any touring or anything like that when the pandemic lifts in 2025,
You know, that would be nice. I'm hoping so. I miss being out on the road. I miss seeing people in person. I miss even just going to Pels games and going to the movies. So at this point, I'll take that before I take tour. Like, can I at least get to a game with a full arena? At this point, that's all I ask.
Right. All NBA fans, I'm sure, are feeling that way right now. It's been really rough watching sports since last March and when we had
Yeah.
sports throughout that whole time. So definitely all looking forward to that for sure. But let's set it up for the Pels listeners. How long have you been a Pelicans fan, and why did you become a Pelicans fan?
I've been a Pelicans fan since the team was the Hornets. Like I was a huge CP3 fan girl. I'm still a CP3 fan girl, although I'm glad we beat him
Yeah.
last night. I'm still, when he's not playing us, I love CP3. Like there's a place in my heart that hopes he comes to New Orleans. Well, goes to New Orleans. I'm not from New Orleans, but hopes he goes to New Orleans and retires or gets on the coaching staff, something. But I came in back then when he was like his first or second season. And I was never able to go to any games because my family, we couldn't afford to drive down there and do all of that and get tickets. Even though tickets were cheap, I know, but we couldn't do the drive and all of that stuff. But I would watch the games whenever they'd come on TV. And I love CP3. So that's where it started for me. And then when he left, I stayed around, you know. I stayed around, and I stayed around during the era of He Who Shall Not Be Named.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, so I was there. I remember watching the Portland series, and like that was one of the highlights of my life as a sports fan. I remember the all the injuries. So it's been an interesting journey as a Pelicans fan. It has, but I'm happy that we're in this current era now.
Sticking around for those post CP3 years, that's how you know you're a true ride or die right
Yes.
there. Right there.
Because
That's
those
for
were
sure.
rough. Those were rough. Oh
So
my God.
you mentioned CP3 being your favorite former Pell. I'm assuming one of your favorite, well, Hornet, whatever you want to call him,
Yeah.
and one of your favorite members of the organization in the past. And you've talked about this before. I know you're on the Pelicans podcast, their podcast that they have with Jim Eichenhofer and some of those guys. But Who's your favorite player now and why? Is it Brandon Ingram,
Mm.
Zion? Are you a little basic, Angie?
Okay. It's hard for me to pick favorites right now.
Okay.
I do love I love Brandon Ingram. And I do love Zion, but I'm a real big fan of Josh Hart.
Mm.
And because I love what Josh brings to the team. I know anytime Josh gets out there, he's bringing that hustle. He's bringing that heart, the energy he brings from off the bench is there's nothing like it. And he puts his all into everything he does. And it seems like he's at the point where he knows what his role is and he's really flourishing in it. So I love Josh and what he brings to the team and what he brings. Before that, though, it would have been Drew, but now it's like, okay, I love Josh and the hustle he brings.
And he had a great game last night. The last two games, really, he's been playing really well. I know he didn't get to catch the game last night, but there was the play that Will Guillory shared where Zion kicked it to him in the corner. That was some of the best stuff I've seen from Zion in a while. And obviously, love to see some shots from Josh Hart go. And if he becomes a corner specialist,
We're
love that.
good.
Would love
We're
that.
good.
Yeah.
Yes.
So on top of all the craziness that has been your life lately, you did decide to briefly separate from the Pelicans. We got to address it. I know. We got to talk about it. Just because they
Oh,
cause you too much stress, or the question is, are you still in the separation, or are you feeling like you can come back now?
I feel like I've come back, like I've moved back
Okay.
in,
Okay.
maybe in a separate room, but I've moved back in. I think it was because I was going through so much stress with tour and promoting the book and everything that I was like, I don't need them to stress me out too, you know. So it was like, it's not you, it's me. But but like I did not expect people to react to it like they did. Like, some of the fans were like, "What do you mean? What are you doing?" And then I end up, and this is not me trying to brag or anything, I end up getting a text from Griff. Like,
What?
yes, I got a text from Griff. Let me pull it up. I'm going to pull it up right now. He was like, "No, don't separate from us. Everything's going to be all right." And I
That's
was like, "Oh
crazy.
my."
How did the rest of the conversation go?
It went well because he was giving me some encouragement and trying to explain some stuff as far as why he thinks the team was in the place that they're in right at that moment. And a
Sure.
lot of it he felt had to do with because new coach, new system, no. And he was saying, just hold tight. It's going to get better. It's going to get better. We have a lot of new guys too on the roster, and everybody's getting adjusted and trying to build new chemistry and everything. It's going to get better. It's going to get better. I said, okay. I said, but they stressing me out. I'm going to try to pull that up. But yeah, I was shocked when I got that because, it's one thing when your fellow fans are online messing with you about it. But when the president of the team texts you and he's like, "No, don't stop." I'm like, "Wait, dude, hold up." So it was a moment. I can't. Here it is. Yeah. Um. He was like, "No, don't divorce us. Everything gonna be all right." And I said, "It's a separation."
Right.
Um. And he said, "I very much support a separation from maybe social media." He said, "But don't separate from the team. Once you're family, you stay family. I promise you will be proud of us eventually. Having 2 weeks of transaction window and lead time before camp started has left things a bit unsettled, but time is on our side."
All
So
right.
that's hopefully for the rest of y'all listening in. I just gave you that glimpse. Yeah, yeah. So that's what he
Good
told
stuff.
me.
All
So
right. Little bit of reassurance from Griff right there. They're like, we
yeah.
sent you a jersey and everything.
Like we sent you hot sauce.
Right.
We let you park in the family parking lot and come out back there, and you gonna do us like this? So yeah, it was hilarious. But I hope that reassurance helps any of the fans that are listening right now. That was straight from Griff, no lie. So
Right. Good stuff. Good stuff. Good to hear from Griff there. Now, you said you were looking around maybe a little bit. Did you have any brief fandom of another team? Did
at
you cheat on
first
the Pelicans, Angie? That's what
I
I'm asking.
I tried and I just couldn't. Like I found myself hating in the midst of trying to call myself supporting. I found myself hating. So like I watched the Dallas game and like I found myself rooting for the team playing against them because I knew it would better the Bills odds. But I will say, and this feels sinful, I do enjoy watching Memphis, and I guess it's because I'm 3 hours away from them as well. I'm in Jackson. 3 hours north is Memphis. 3 hours south is New Orleans. So I'm in the middle,
Mm.
and I did enjoy watching them. I think they're building something special there, and their whole grit and grind attitude is special. But I still found myself in the midst of it going, nope, they can't win. They can't win.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it wasn't a real cheat. It was just
Right. They're a good basketball team to root for. They're on the come up too, and Ja Morant is a stud. That
he
dude
is.
is good.
I think he'll be a future Pelican. That's what I'll say.
Okay. It's that Zion pull. I feel you. I
Yes,
get you.
yes, yes,
I get you.
yes,
And Mardi
yes.
Gras, what are you going to do
Yeah.
about that? I love what they did with their picks this last year, too. I don't know if you followed along with that Desmond Bain sharpshooter that they got at the end of the first round. Something that the
Yes.
Pelicans could have used. And they actually traded that pick of RJ Hampton to the Nuggets. So they could have ended up with Desmond Bain. I've been wanting to talk about that for a little
Mhm.
bit, and you got me to it. So I'm glad we got that in there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I do think that we got a steal in Kyra. Like I
Yeah.
I love what I see from him. He just needs more minutes. He needs more consistency. But that kid is amazing. You see all the right signs with him, as specifically as a point guard, because point guard is the hardest position to play in the NBA. Because you got to direct the offense, and this kid, he's what, 19, and he came in. When he comes in, he does it, and he does it well. And one day, his shots are going to start falling more, and his decision making is going to get even better. I'm excited to see what happens with him.
Absolutely. The two things that stick out to me about Kyra, well, one, point guard's just hard in general, but two, when you
Yeah.
come in the league, young point guards and young like big men tend to struggle the most, and he's
Hmm.
shown so much composure. I mean,
Yes.
the comparisons to De'Aaron Fox were immediate when he was coming into the draft just because of the speed, but he's got a better
Mhm.
jump shot than De'Aaron Fox.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I think he's younger too, I think, than De'Aaron was coming out of the draft. He was 17 when he went to Alabama. And my draft guy, when my draft guy came on my podcast named Derek Murray from Babcock Hoops, he told me that if Kyra had Kentucky across his chest instead of
Hmm.
Alabama, he would have been a consensus top 5 pick.
Wow.
So
Yeah. Yeah. I believe it. I
yeah,
believe it.
he's
So yeah, I
very
think
he's
we got to steal.
yeah. Oh yeah. I think I've seen some rankings for like top 10 who people have their chances of winning rookie of the year. And I'm like, Kyra's better than that, dude. Like if he was getting regular minutes, I really
Hmm.
think he'd be in the conversation.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
Kyra. You're gonna
yeah.
get MIP one day. It's
Right.
gonna
Yes.
happen. All good.
Exactly. And then MVP, right? We'd speak it into
Yes.
existence.
Yes. Yes.
So, like we were talking about, the Pelicans have certainly been causing many of us stress early on in the season, as they're currently sitting 14th in the Western Conference with an 8-12 record. But they looked significantly better, especially defensively last night. I'm not sure if you got to see the highlights or anything, but Zion and Brandon Ingram are definitely coming along on the defensive end, but they can still be better. And there's always the conversation of trades, especially with us bloggers that cover the Pelicans. Do you think this team has any specific needs to you right now that they should go out and get in terms of personnel?
Yeah, I do. I want more shooters.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty obvious. I'm not sure about some of our guards right now. I've been trying to be supportive, but I'm not sure if the fit works. Like last night's game, I did watch highlights from last night's game, and everything was clicking. And we're a different team when our guards play well, but we don't get consistency out of them, and
Mhm.
that bothers me so much. And it's like I don't know if they realize the difference they make on the team, you know. And specifically when we talk about Lonzo, and there's always a lot of conversation about Lonzo's confidence. Um, and I'd even told Griff that in our text chat. I said, I want Lonzo to get more confident, and he was like, yeah, yeah. He was agreeing with me,
Right.
and so I think that I think part of his confidence will come in him more so realizing the important role he has. Um, I think there were some stats released today that showed that when we win in like every game where he's played well, we usually win. There's only one game that we lost where he played well, but every other game and we win, and that's a key to it. So I want him to hopefully embrace that and understand that his importance to the team. Bledsoe, I was never really sure about the fit. I think, and this is me saying, I don't know. I hadn't talked to Griff about this or Swin or nobody, but my thing with um Bledsoe, I think he came in as a temporary thing, specifically as a starting mentor to Kyra. Because if nothing else, they're both Alabama guys and they
Yep.
have that connection. And Kyra's already said he talks to Bled more than any, as far as advice he gets from Bled more than anybody, blah, blah, blah. So I think that was one purpose of that. That's my opinion, So, but I don't know about the long-term fit. So I want some improvement on guard play, whether that's trades or our guards doing better. And I'd like some more wings. You know, I like chicken wings, and I'd love some wings for Pelicans. You know, definitely some wings. I think the Steven Adams fit is working right now, but I definitely see where we would benefit from a stretch big. That's what I play on 2K, a stretch big. So that would be nice, but those aren't always easy to come by. So we'll see what happens. We'll see. But right now, shooters with some defense.
Yeah.
I'll take them however I get them.
Any specific players that come to mind that you would want the Pels to acquire that you think they can get right now?
Bradley Beal is always a dream, but
touche. All right. I just lobbed a softball to you right there, huh?
But I don't know if that would fit like long term because of his age. You kind of want someone in the same age range. He's a bit older, and you want someone who's going to grow with Zion and Bi. Who have I liked that I've been looking at other teams? I've been trying to play around with trade machines myself and figure out some stuff. So this will throw people off because he's a shooting guard, but I like what's his name? With the 76ers. Shake Milton.
Okay, sure.
I think Shake would add some shooting, but I don't know. Yeah, it's hard to say. Everybody's been talking about Lauri Markkanen. I think that's his name. And I've been checking his stuff out, and he looks like he's not consistent. So I'm like, I want some consistency. But there is, I would love to get Maxi Kleba from Dallas. Like, I think Maxi would be great for us. I really do. So that would be a steal if they could get that. Yeah, that's where I'm at right now. I listen to the blog guys, what you guys say, and I look up players to see who.
Sure. All right, cool. Now, one player that, you're talking about the stretch four, somebody who can help a little bit defensively. I included in an article that I put together about potential JJ Redick trades would be Kelly Olynyk from the Miami Heat. He's like a 37% 3-point shooter from deep, and he's pretty good at protecting the rim. Been on that team that went to the championship last year again, and then Myers Leonard too, who's a center that could help in terms of stretching the floor as well from the Miami Heat. So I've been talking a little bit about them. Haven't talked about it too much on the podcast, but you hit it with Lauri Markkanen and Maxi Kleba too. What I've been hearing is I highly doubt the Mavericks would be willing to part with Maxi Kleba. That's the thing, which is totally fair. I mean, stretch fours that can defend the rim like he can.
They're hard to find. Right. Yeah. And they already have so many issues with contracts and who they can and can't sign. Yeah. I get it. Oh, but I do know there was somebody else too. Oh, you were talking about Olynyk. I was reading in Miami Heat Twitter today, like they're not happy with him because he hasn't been shooting well.
Oh, well. Big A.
We may have to wait on that.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Yeah, I think he's in a contract year too. So this would be the end of his year. It'd be the same thing for Lauri. Lauri would be cheaper this season, but there's so many different things going on right now.
I wanted us to try to get Jay Crowder because I love Jay and the way he played. I think he would have been great. And I don't think Phoenix is using him like they could have.
Mm.
Like I was looking at from last night's game and I was shocked that Monty didn't have Jay on Zion. I'm not unhappy. I'm glad he didn't. But I don't think Zion would have gotten as many. Well, I don't know. But with Jay would have slowed him down a bit because he's that great of a defender. And he can go a little more toe to toe. So I think it would have been great if we could have got him on the Pels. I used to want Oubre, but not now.
Yeah. 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 He is shooting horrible. Well, I think he's gotten a little bit better. He doesn't really
Yeah.
fit with what the Warriors want to do, too.
Mm-mm.
So it might have been a better fit in New Orleans, but taking a little bit of a shot there by adding him to one of the
Yeah.
worst 3-point shooting teams in the league. So
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know. Yeah,
Yeah.
we'd see what happened there, but I like the ideas of adding a lot of those guys. Jay Crowder was one of the free agents that we talked about during the the off season in terms of the Pels acquiring him. And yeah, last night the matchup with Zion, they threw Cam Johnson and Frank Kaminsky at him. Like, what did you think was going to happen? That was nuts.
And I saw Phoenix fans complaining about Monty's rotations, and I'm like, this is deja vu because
Yeah. Yeah.
we
You're
used to
exactly right.
complain about that. That was one thing that used to grind me about Monty, his rotations. So I'm like, he's a great guy, great man, great coach, but sometimes his rotations made me scratch my head. So now they're dealing with it too. Last night though, I was so glad he made them.
Yeah. 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 The thing about the Suns too is they're really deep. They have so
Yeah,
much talent everywhere. So figuring that rotation out is got to be difficult. But it's still Monty Williams. So you
yeah,
hit the head there.
yeah.
Another player that's reported to possibly be traded before the trade deadline out of Houston is Victor Oladipo, even though they just
Oh.
acquired him. Do you have any interest in Oladipo? Again, he's in a
Hmm.
contract year too. So I was wondering if that'd be something you'd be interested in bringing in for the Pelicans.
Hmm. I mean, my only concern, well, two concerns with Oladipo. One, his health, obviously. And two, would he stay long term? Because there's all this talk of he wants to go to Miami. He wants to go to Miami. And I wouldn't want us to give up a whole lot for a 1 year rental, you know? So if Griff and Trajan were confident that they could get him to stay, then I say go for it. But if the word is, that he wants to go to Miami, I wouldn't. It depends. Like, what are you giving up for him? you
Right.
know yeah,
Right.
so that's tricky. I mean, he'd be great. I mean, he's Oladipo, he'd be
Yeah.
great,
Yeah.
but yeah, I don't know. It's tricky.
It is tricky. And what I was thinking was, and I think I saw David Fisher post this from the Bird Rights, giving up Eric Bledsoe and Jackson Hayes plus like a few seconds or something like that. And
Yeah,
that the tough pull for me is Jackson Hayes because when he's on the court, the Pels are, I mean, just by the numbers, like they're just not as good. Like just look at what you've got online in terms of his statistics on court versus off court for the Pelicans.
yeah,
But we've seen flashes. Like he's starting to grow. He falls back into some of those bad habits, but we've seen a lot of good stuff from Jackson Hayes this season, especially
yeah,
compared to last season.
yeah. We have Jax is frustrating because like he could have such a high ceiling, but the question is, does he want it? you know I know, and what I have to remind myself too is this is a kid who only started playing basketball like late in high school.
3 years ago.
Yeah, 3 years ago. So he still has so much to learn. He has a body that could do more than I think he recognizes. And it again, he has a high ceiling. I think he does. He just he has to want it. He has to want it. I heard that like last night was one of the first times after a game anybody ever saw him shooting free throws out on the court when the game was over. And I'm like, for the first time?
Yeah.
For the first time? You've never what? So, you know, he's a project, and I do question whether he should be our project or should he be traded to somewhere like Miami. What would heat culture do for him? What would that do for him? So he's got to want it. It's frustrating watching that kid. It is
Right.
so frustrating, but I'm gonna try to hold out hope. I'm gonna try.
Yeah, I feel that. Yeah. Yeah. Jackson, I think Miami would do a lot for him too. They're amazing at developmental. sort of situations, developing players. That's how normal people say that phrase. And and guy like obviously Precious Achua, the acquisition of him, I thought he was going to be erratic and a turnover machine, but he's been
Yeah.
awesome for the Heat so far. So
Yeah.
that'd be a really good spot for them. Now, I was going to ask about Kyra Lewis here, but you beat me to it. So how do you feel about the new head coaching, the coaching staff? My gosh, words are hard sometimes. Stan Van Gundy and the rest of the staff. How are you feeling about what they've done for the team so far this season?
I think they've done pretty well given with what they've been given. Okay. I understand that fans are frustrated and want things fast, but we have to recognize Coach Van Gundy has not even been on the job for like 100 days yet. You know, don't we usually judge presidents by their first 100 days? I don't think this man has been on the job 100 days yet. Like Griff told me in the text, they didn't get a training camp. You know, this is a new system for them, and they're learning as they go. But I think that I've still seen some positives. I love the fact that I heard that he sits down and has film sessions with Zion and Bi alone, discussing defense especially, because I think that's going to pay off in the long run. Progress is a slow process, but I think we're going to see the fruits of all the labor. I think I'll wait until the end of the season to really grade them and give him a grade. It's hard to right now because again, so many factors between the no training camp and the short start, quick season start, all of this, that, and then a roster with young players and a roster with new players who haven't all played together before. It's a lot of factors working against them. So I guess Griff was right in telling me patience.
Right.
But what I see that. I get that now. So I'm gonna hold tight. It's about the habits that they build. And that's the most important thing. It's about the habits. And I think Coach Van Gundy will instill good habits.
Something that Jamel McMillan told us a few weeks ago when he was on the podcast, former assistant for the Pelicans, told us that when Stan Van Gundy came in, he had to tear it all down, basically do everything over again. So that's why I'm feeling pretty much the same way you are. Patience, going along with what Griff says there. You need it. It's a young team, two young stars. It just makes sense, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So the question is, do you believe this team still has a shot at the playoffs still? What do you think the outlook is for the rest of the season?
Whew. If they play like they did last night, absolutely. If last night is the rule and not the exception, yes. If
Mm-hmm.
last night is the start of something new, to quote High School Musical, I don't know where that came from.
Oh man, that's why people listen to the Pelicans Plus podcast
Yes,
is the High School Musical references. So
exactly. You never heard that on a Pelicans podcast before. I brought that. That's brand new. Besides the Griff text exclusive, you got that exclusive High School
yes.
Musical drop. Um,
Oh, I love it.
but yeah, if last night is definitely a new thing for them, if that's how they play going forward, I think it's possible. I think the play-in is possible. And I think that's what they need to focus on getting to, not necessarily a secured playoff spot, but that play-in spot. I think that would be a good experience for them, the play-in. But I'm gonna be honest, and I might be one of the few fans that says this. I'm okay if they don't make the playoffs this year. Next year, totally different thing. But this year, I'm okay if they don't, because this year feels like Zion's freshman year.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't get a full one last season, but between last season and now this season, I feel like we're getting his full first year, and then I'll feel better about next year, saying, okay, let's aim for the playoffs. I think that the roster needs some changes, some tweaks, some fixes, some trades. And I'd wait for that before I say playoff, playoff, playoff. So I think the pieces are being put together, but there's still some things to be made. So I don't want us going to the playoffs and getting embarrassed. I mean, I
Yeah.
don't. Everybody's playoffs, but y'all, I don't want them going there and embarrassing us.
Yeah.
I don't want blowouts.
Right.
I don't want to get swept. I don't want blowouts every night. I don't know if they're ready for that yet. So, it's okay if they don't for me. Totally okay if they don't.
All right. I think you're probably going to be in the minority there. I think the
Yeah.
expectation was to try to get into the play-in this year. So I
Yeah.
think that again, the playoff experience is going to be super valuable for them going forward. Honestly, even if they get blown out. So
Yeah.
we'll see.
Yeah.
Maybe we have
Absolutely.
different philosophies there, but
Yeah.
we'll see what happens. So this is the part usually when I have a guest on where we do some more general NBA questions, but I would love to hear more about Concrete Rose and your writing career and stuff like that. So first question, the first time you found out you were a New York Times bestseller, what was your reaction? What was that like?
I was shocked. I was at my house, my old house where I grew up actually, and my agent called me to tell me the news. And I was home by myself. My mom was out running errands, and I was just freaking out there at the house. And I called my mom, and she had to pull over on the side of the road, and I heard her screaming and shouting on the side of the
Oh
road.
my gosh,
So
that's so awesome.
and then she came home, pulled into the driveway, barely stopped the car, and got out and ran to tell all the different neighbors who were outside. So that's a moment that lives on in my head forever. But it was shocking. I didn't know if I'd ever get published, much less become a New York Times bestseller. So it's hard to put that feeling into words.
How has your life changed since that moment?
I mean, I got David Griffin texting me. I mean,
Okay, yeah, that's okay, yeah.
you know, it's no, it's crazy how much my life has changed. But at home, I'm still me, and I love that. At home, I'm still Angie. At home, my mom is still like, "Oh, your room is a mess," Even though I'm a grown woman, she still gets on me about that. Here in Mississippi, here in Jackson, I can go around without being bothered or anything because I'm not uber famous like that or anything. But it's if nothing else, more people know me online and that sort of thing. But also I hear from more young people, and I get to talk to young people and write for them, and that's an honor and a joy. So it's changed, but I'm doing my best to keep me as same as possible.
Mm, good stuff. So, what inspired you to write the prequel to The Hate You Give?
My readers, honestly, the character of Maverick in The Hate You Give is Star's father. And if you've seen the book or read if you've seen the movie or read the book, I can't believe I
There
said
you
that.
go.
Yeah, there we go. But so many of my readers and so many of the people who watched the movie just fell in love with that character, and they wanted to know more about him. We see him as this wonderful father in The Hate You Give, this wonderful husband, a pillar of the community. But we also know he was once a drug dealer and a gang member, and he was once in prison. And they were like, how did he become the person we see now if that's what he was before? And I thought the best way to answer their questions was to write a book. So his story just it came kind of naturally. I knew so much about the character already just from the stuff I put in the previous book, but it felt like the best way to answer their questions. Plus, the movie inspired me, honestly. The actor who played Maverick in the film did such a phenomenal job, and I got a chance to have so many great conversations with him about the character that I was inspired to write a book.
Mm.
So it just all came together. It felt meant to be.
So now that the book has released, what's been the craziest part? Would you say it's the first lady mentioning you in an interview, or have any other things that really stick out to you?
Yeah, that's definitely one. I think the other is realizing that so many people are finding the book and reading it and all of that, even in the middle of a pandemic. You know, Releasing a book during COVID is scary because I can't do events, I can't go on tour, I can't see people in person, but they're finding out about the book, they're reading the book, and they're still connecting with it and finding ways to connect with me. So that's been a relief. But I think the craziest thing has been just the people who have reached out to me, like hearing that the first lady read the Hate You Give, and now I think someone else told her about Concrete Rose, so she's got to get that one too. I just sent her some today. Hopefully the White House will let my package through. But, yeah, I think that's one of the top moments of my life, period. Has to be.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So Concrete Rose, you can find it anywhere people sell books, I'm assuming.
Yes.
Is there any specific place that you want to point people to that the proceeds go anywhere or anything like that?
Yeah, if you shop with my local independent bookstore, Lemuria Books here in Jackson, you can get a signed copy. So I definitely encourage you to go there. And there's another website. There's a website called bookshop.org. If you buy from any book from bookshop.org, proceeds go to helping local independent bookstores in your city. So we talk a lot about small business and supporting small business. Bookshop is a great way to do that. Even if you can't get out and go to a store or something like that, it's a great way to support stores around the country directly with your dollars.
There it is. Link will be in the description here on the podcast and on YouTube. So you can definitely check that out there. Angie Thomas, Angie C. Thomas on Twitter. Make sure to go give her a follow. She talks plenty of Pelicans on there. So you definitely want to check that out. Angie, thank you so much. This was so fun.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Anytime I can talk about the Pels, it's a joy. So thank you. Even when they frustrate me, it's still a joy. Thank you.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Have a good one, Angie.